Hello, Brian from Daniel Craig's Southern Accent here. Glass Onion, a Knives Out story, had its limited theatrical run. I don't have Netflix, and if I were to give any of their movies my money this year, I'm glad it's this one. Rian Johnson is so overwhelmingly enthralled with this genre, and it shows. The finesse he has assembling these twists and turns perfectly fitting into one another and choosing when to reveal that they do in fact perfectly fit together is delightful. Even in instances where I could predict what might happen, the payoff was so satisfying I was excited to see it coming. The first Knives Out was a refreshing ensemble romp and a great career pivot for Johnson after The Last Jedi to an audience that'd actually appreciate what he has to offer. Any issues I had with Knives Out are mostly remedied in Glass Onion. The comedy lands much better, there are fewer superfluous characters unless that's the joke, and it's much better at being subversive. In the first one, you knew how the mystery would resolve, even with the conceit of the movie supposedly telling you who the killer is up front. I think the weakest point of the movie is the special effects leave something to be desired, which is not the biggest deal in the world for an ensemble mystery, as long as they're not, funnily enough, Death on the Nile level effects where Egypt looks like a background from Speed Racer. The real fun of the film is how far it rides on pure entertainment value. Too often these days, it seems critics and audiences reinforce a false dichotomy of movies being either high culture or mass culture, with one being the valid way for them to be made. A movie with appeals to entertainment value alone is something you can judge the merits of, and this is proof. For instance, Benoit Blanc is an unbelievably watchable lead. The mere act of listening to Daniel Craig deliver his next flavorful, drawling line is a pleasure, but on a more subtle side, this is because of the surprising palette of emotional situations he's put into, and then are performed uniquely as well. Not just happy or sad or generically puzzled, there are varied social minutiae and dramatic ironies Craig has to play off of, and Johnson needs to properly direct. Johnson is obsessed with this level of construction behind his characters, and although fewer are in Glass Onion, each one contributes more to the story and is better fleshed out for it. When such obvious thought has gone into each and every aspect of the film, it really blows a hole in the fallacy that films exist as nebulously defined fun, independent of artistic effort. The remaining cast all deserve special attention, but to save on redundancy, Dave Bautista and Kate Hudson are two incredibly director-reliant actors, but are still just as entertaining as anyone else among them. It's no real surprise the film eventually gives way to a point-and-laugh message about the idiocy of those too rich for their own good, especially given that the first film did that too. I give the blunt, false ally, eat the rich attitude better graces than I might if the film weren't as thought out. Satisfying as it is to watch unfold, the cast being unlikable and shifty in the ways they are, it's played out after this. As they make more Knives Out movies, the target audience will continue to eat it up, obviously, but I'd like the same level of variance at the bottom line of who these characters are that goes into the rest of them. Maybe you won't enjoy how admittedly trendy Johnson tends to be with the script, with references to COVID, among many other hot-button traits that are kind of baked into the characters. Edward Norton is pretty obviously Elon Musk, for example, although none of this is as patronizing as you might anticipate. You could easily claim Glass Onion is the first Knives Out with a change in scenery, and to an extent that is true. I found more to enjoy from this one. I think its storytelling tricks are a little tighter, its characterization more purposeful. For a sequel to a movie that brought serialized mysteries back to the mainstream, I think Glass Onion is more than worthy of being a successor. I'm giving this a decent to high 7. Then we have Violent Night, which answers what if Santa was John Wick? It's embarrassing to watch a movie unfold in such stunning desperation to make you forget the corny stupidity of its own idea. Turning Santa into a disgruntled, burly action hero with an edgy Christmas pun as your title is so creatively bankrupt and stupid it'd be a poster in the background of Drake and Josh. Violent Night unfolds with all the transparency in the world that it's built around a dozen or so tacky Christmas-themed one-liners and nothing else. else. The plot and characterization are both so incredibly thin the film has nothing to stand on. The only offering it has is the tonal subversion of Santa Claus as a gruff, drunk action man, but the movie is still so thoughtless it can't settle on an actual tone beyond that. The story is meant to be a homage to Die Hard, but out of nowhere there's a scene ripped straight from Home Alone. Then periodically it'll slap you in the face with an attempt to be sentimental for about 60 seconds before continuing as it was. At one point, I looked down at my phone for about 10 seconds, and when I looked back up, suddenly we were in The Northman. Every single character is a walking cliche, and the dialogue is fucking terrible. Even John Leguizamo, who's at least trying to choose some scenery, is a bottom line bore. David Harbour certainly looks like Santa, but nothing else around him is doing him any favors. If you want every possible safe, corporate-tested, inoffensive trope in an action movie so incredibly out of ideas, sewn together by gimmicks begging you to think they're fun, but with a candy cane finish, Violent Night is exactly that. It's peppermint-flavored Bullet Train. After Nobody, these dad rage action movies have thoroughly run their course, but even by that standard, Violent Night is a mess of tropes and cliches. Ask yourself basic questions about the fundamentals of stakes or internal logic, and it falls apart. Apparently, this one little girl is the only person in the world who still likes Santa and can snap him out of perpetual burnout. Are there literally no good kids left in the world? I can't remember a single one of the dumbass fight scenes, which is a crime for a movie like this. I remember every action scene in Nobody, most of them in John Wick. Hell, I remember more fights from Bullet Train than this. The film was ugly, the performances either overbearing or lazy, the characters thin, the plot devices were all borrowed from somewhere else as a lesser carbon copy, every line meant turning the corner into something stupid. It's an ugly insult to the state of movies that something this brainless and cynical could be excused under the guise of being dumb fun. What is wrong with you people? You can demand more from even pure stupidity. We don't have to live like this. 3 out of 10. Goodbye. So hey, did you like these movies more than me? Less than me? Well, if you care to, please tell me. And if you like not only words, but the way I arrange and then say them, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to me, Brian from the channel Brian. Thank you, and goodbye.